Okay, welcome everyone. Great to be here on a mildly cloudy day in Winnipeg, Manitoba. I'm at the corner of Portage and Main. I am Rob Tatro, president and founder of the Canadian CMV Foundation and CMV Canada. I'm also your host for the CMV Live series, and this is going to be a lot of fun today. Really excited for who we have on today. Marie Pigeon has been an inspiration to all of us in Canada that have done advocacy. She believes she's an audiologist, and she believes she's a strong fighter. She's a proud Canadian, and we are lucky, and I'm thrilled to have her on the show today. So I'm going to bring her right in right now. Marie Pigeon, thank you for being here today. Thank you for taking the time, and welcome.
Well, thank you, Rob. I am very excited to be here. I am a big fan of CMV Canada, so thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, it's exciting times in the CMV space. COVID is obviously not a pleasant time, an infectious disease that's hurting and killing a lot of people, and we recognize that. But CMV has had a lot of momentum. Congenital CMV research, awareness, activity, lobbying, change in protocol, change in medical directives, change in legislation is happening in Canada, and I think it's an incredibly exciting time.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I mean, of course, you know, COVID is the story of the day and where the focus needs to be, but it does raise awareness for everybody of just the seriousness of infections and viruses, and CMV has always been there and in the background, and we're bringing it to the foreground.
Absolutely. And we cannot do that without the wonderful support of our sponsors. So I'm going to take a sec here to thank our sponsors. First of all, we got CMV Canada. That's us, CMV Canada. Merck has been a great partner of ours. We're incredibly thankful for their support. The National CMV Foundation, our American counterparts south of the border. Thank you guys. And obviously NCHAM, they're the leaders, and they're basically the ones who put together the Public Health and Policy Conference, which is going to happen in Ottawa in 2021. Ottawa, what a fantastic city! That is your home city right now. You're there. You're in Ottawa, correct?
I am in Ottawa. Yeah, right now I'm at the Children's Hospital of Eastern Ontario, which is the pediatric CHEO. Yeah, the pediatric hospital that's in Ottawa, one of the two pediatric hospitals in Ontario, and yeah, in beautiful sunny Ottawa right now, and we'll be.
CHEO has been a hotspot for all the development in CMV, in large part to some of the work you've done, and Pranesh and Jason and Jess Dunn and all the wonderful people there. And it is a hotspot in Ottawa. And is it hot out there today, Marie?
It's lovely. It's a lovely day, considering that it's October. We'll take it. We'll take as much ability to go outside as we can, but yeah, it's a nice day. And you're right, I just have to say, you gave me such a nice introduction there, but I'm just very blessed to be able to be a small member in the big team that includes, you know, Dr. Jess Dunn, Dr. Brophy, Dr. Pranesh, who are all really
Ari as well.
Lead Ari, of course, Ari Putnam at Sick Kids, absolutely. We're
He's
very
at Sick
lucky.
Kids. He's not at CHEO, yeah.
Oh yeah, but it's all one big happy pediatric hospital family.
Right on. So I do want to take a sec. If you're watching on YouTube or on Facebook or on maybe Twitter or Instagram or wherever you're watching, take a sec to subscribe and like. We do want a great comment here from Carrie Desprez. Carrie, happy to reach out to you with respect to this. Thank you for reaching out. Everyone who's watching, we definitely need. So today, the purpose of today is obviously to raise awareness as to what Marie's done. This is a series. We'll be live every 2 weeks from now until into 2022. We're trying to showcase what is going to happen in Ottawa 2021. Ottawa 2021 is the CMV Public Health and Policy Conference. These conferences are unbelievable. I've not missed one of them in my career as a CMV parent. I have a 12-year-old son, Alexandre, who's born with congenital CMV, and I've never missed one of these. And I strongly suggest, if you're a parent and you want to get involved, to reach out to us, ask us how you can get involved. We have provincial chapters that are being kind of formed and have been formed in different provinces right now. We do need all of you parents out there that are advocates. We need more help from parents. So if you're a parent, you're watching, please reach out at any level. You can get involved at any level: fundraising, awareness. Maybe you want to just distribute the infographics into the obstetrician gynecologist office. Whatever you want to do, we want your help. Now, Ottawa 2021 is going to be fantastic. Marie, Pigeon, and many of the Canadians were set to speak in 2020. As we now know, 2020 got canceled because, well, the whole year threw us a curveball, as you guys know. But 2021 is going to be fantastic. You've been doing some great work, and you were instrumental. I'm going to start with a question about maybe I should introduce you a bit further. So you're an audiologist, trained audiologist. You also are the designated training center for the Ontario Infant Hearing Program. And you also work with Newborn Screening Ontario, designing the risk factor studies, et cetera, for the screen. So for those of you who don't know, Ontario was the first place on earth to have universal screening. Every single baby that's born is being screened. Can you tell us a bit of the story of how you were involved with that story and how it started? It wasn't probably how most people think started.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that lovely introduction. And I just want to acknowledge my colleagues. I'm one of 3 of the designated training centers, which also include Western University and Humber River Hospital in Ontario, helping to work with the infant hearing program. So the quick story about this is universal hearing screening is quite well established internationally. Pretty much everywhere has universal infant hearing screening. It's understood that finding hearing loss is very important. So these programs exist pretty much across the board. And the problem with them is that when you screen babies at birth, you will catch the babies that have congenital hearing loss, but where it's been really hard to keep the programs where meeting the World Health Organization's benchmarks of how to do this is finding children who are at risk for developing hearing loss in the first few years of life.
So yeah, they call that late onset, right?
Right, exactly. Well, early onset, but not congenital. So in those prelingual years or those preschool years is particularly where screening programs want to find them. So we knew that. And we know now from some good research, particularly the Morton and Nance research from 2006, that CMV and genetic risk factors, but CMV makes up one of the leading causes of all permanent hearing loss in children. And certainly one of the leading causes of late onset and early onset hearing loss that isn't present right at birth. And so we wanted to be able to find those kids so we could follow them even if they didn't have a hearing loss rate at birth. The trouble is that so much of CMV infection is asymptomatic. So somewhere between 80 and 90% of babies who have CMV won't show symptoms at birth. So how do we find those kids? So that was really where it started from. It started as a way of improving hearing screening and hearing surveillance by being able to find kids who had CMV. And so the impetus starts there.
Yeah, so you knew these kids were there, you knew they existed, you knew that a lot of them were asymptomatic, and you knew a lot of them, or a percentage of them, would develop prelingual, as I believe you called it, hearing loss, and nobody was doing anything globally to find these kids. So what did you guys do in Ontario?
So the thought was, well, the other really big screening program, of course, even bigger than the infant hearing screening programs, is the newborn screening program, or the dry blood spot screening program, where babies receive a heel prick and a dry blood spot, and that's, they look for many different diseases and disorders on those dried blood spots, ones that are very serious and have a significant impact on child development and health. And we thought, would there be a way of looking for CMV on the dry blood spot? Also looking for genetic markers for hearing loss, but for this group, looking for CMV on the dry blood spot. So that was really, I was really a teeny tiny player in that big collaboration that went on between two different government ministries, because dry blood spot is Ministry of Health and infant hearing programs tend to be under, you know, early child development or community or whatever the ministry is, tends to be not Ministry of Health, but Ministry of Community Services or something like that. So in Ontario, it's two very different government ministries. There was a tremendous collaboration. There some genius people like Dr. Chakraborty, Pranish Chakraborty, running Newborn Screening Ontario. There's some brilliant people up there who managed to make this collaboration happen. And I was lucky enough to be in on that from the beginning, but that's how it got introduced. So we do screen. It's not a universal CMV screening. It's a universal screening for risk factors for hearing loss that includes CMV. And so CMV is looked for on the dry blood spot.
The neat thing about it, the way you describe it, I agree wholeheartedly. How you describe it is it's not a universal screen, but the practical effect for parents out there is that their baby gets universally screened for factors of hearing loss. But in this case, one of those factors is CMV. So they are being screened. These babies are now being screened for CMV in Ontario. And it's, I know you're modest, Marie, and you know, first time I met you, one of these conferences, I remember that quality about you, but this is no small feat. So I know you're modest and you're taking a small role in this and you're thanking your colleagues, but all of you guys that put this together, you know, me as a parent, I thank you. This is part of the advocacy work that we do. And you guys are unbelievable. It's a home run that you guys hit. And however you figured it out to do it, you got it done. So congrats for that.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you are humble. This is a huge difference. What were the, like in the first, I think in the first year or something, there were like 90 or something babies that got, I don't remember the numbers. I should know them cold, but I know they've moved a few times. But like we're talking many babies that have gotten a diagnosis where parents are now aware of that diagnosis. Parents can now watch for early onset and late onset hearing loss, whether they're symptomatic or asymptomatic. And the ones that were symptomatic got treated. So this is a huge win. Babies have a better outcome because of the work you guys did. So thank you. Let's talk a bit about this medical directive concept that you were telling me about earlier, which I think is really neat because here in Manitoba and in other provinces, so in Manitoba, we have a targeted screening protocol. If a child fails his newborn hearing screening or has other kind of indicators of congenital CMV, that pediatrician needs to, I forget the wording, but needs to call for a CMV test. So the hearing screening fail is the big one, right? We want to catch the kids that fail the hearing screening. In our kind of language, we call this targeted screening. Tell me about this medical directive that you guys have succeeded in passing with respect to audiologists.
Yeah, so that was a project that we started. So in the years when we were thinking about trying to figure out would it be possible to add CMV to the dry blood spot and thinking about that big program that would cover all babies born in Ontario. At that time, Dr. Jonna McCormick, who was an ENT here at CHEO and one of my colleagues and who worked on this whole project as well. It's such a big team. That was slowly moving its way forward through different levels of government and program planning, et cetera. We felt like, well, we need to be doing something right now. What could we be doing right now? And one of the things that we thought, what if audiologists who found sensory neural hearing loss on babies were able to order CMV testing right there on the day that they found the permanent hearing loss in the babies, because it takes some months for babies to go from the audiologist to the ear, nose, and throat doctor or the specialist in their pathway once they have their hearing loss found. And that's okay as far as intervention for hearing loss, because the steps that need to happen for the baby still happen at all the right benchmarks, even with that gap of time. But that doesn't work for CMV. If we're finding a hearing loss in a baby that's a few weeks old and they're going to be a few months old by the time they see their physician, that's late for finding out that they had CMV. So what if somehow the audiologist could do it? That's not normally under the scope for audiologists to order that kind of testing, but in our facility, in our hospital, we were able to work with the team, the medical team that writes medical directives, which are a way of saying, could we write a protocol for people who don't normally have a particular process in their scope of practice? Is there a way we can write a nice protocol, a safe protocol where they could use that? And so with the medical team, we wrote a protocol for audiologists along with the lab. And so as soon as the audiologist found a permanent hearing loss, we were able to order CMV testing on the same day. And so we were able to find some babies that way. And that is something that any pediatric, any hospital really who's doing pediatric hearing assessments on babies, we've shared that protocol widely with lots of hospitals, and we're happy to share it with anybody who's interested. And that is a step an individual organization can take.
Yeah, I'm going to fire up my advocacy skills right now. I'm getting fired up just hearing you talk about it. I don't know how many hospitals there are in the country, but we're going to get them done one by one, Marie. This medical directive needs to happen. I recognize it's we want universal screening. Everyone agrees on that point. I think as parents, if we're not advocating for universal screening, we're doing ourselves a disservice. But this would be a huge win now because we know that these babies are being missed. We know for a fact these asymptomatic only by either unilateral hearing loss or bilateral hearing loss, we know that these are being missed. There's some of the babies that are being missed the most. There's data that's been published, North American data, US data, Canadian data. We know these babies are being missed. So if we have that protocol and we know, because you don't have to wait for a 6-month-old. By the way, the reason, Marie, for the viewers out there that don't know, and you know this obviously, is because we want to start treatment. We want to start valganciclovir before 4 weeks of age. And that has been proven to have a positive outcome on babies. So we do need to, this medical directive is significant. It's huge because that means the babies aren't going to be treated at 6 months. We're not going to wait forever to diagnose them. So I think this is a fantastic idea, and we are going to work to get this passed everywhere in every hospital. And I'm probably going to ask you to share the protocols with me and the medical directive with me because it is such a no-brainer. The targeted hearing screening is such a no-brainer. It should be actually standard of care. Like if you know that the number one cause of non-hereditary hearing loss is congenital CMV, wouldn't you want to check for that? Like, wouldn't that be the first thing you would check for? I don't know. I'm a little passionate about this, Maggie. Sorry, but sorry to raise my voice here, but I'm sure you'll agree.
Yeah, it's absolutely. Just as you say, Rob, CMV is the leading non-genetic environmental cause of hearing loss in the preschool, congenitally and in the preschool years. And so absolutely understanding etiology is really helpful. Just as an audiologist, from an audiologist point of view, it's very helpful to be able to help parents understand the etiology, what's the cause of their child's hearing loss. It's part of that parent's voyage. And when you discover something like that, that really, is beneficial to have medical attention, etc., then I'm with you. That one seems like something that could be put in place. The difficulty will exist in that it's audiologists aren't always in medical facilities. The audiologists who do these tests, sometimes they're out in community, and so it's not going to be able to cover everything, but it's another tool in the tool belt.
Absolutely. We need to add that tool to the tool belt. It's really neat to see an audiologist like you, Marie, and I've met some really, really neat audiologists and some big advocates for CMV, but it's really neat to see the level that you've taken to get involved. You're on the medical advisory committee for the Canadian CMV Foundation. You were going to present in Ottawa 2020 or at the CMV Public Health and Policy Conference on some of your findings, either yourself or your colleagues, and you'll be in Ottawa 2021. Tell us, the viewers, especially for our American friends that are watching south of the border, tell us about how awesome Ottawa is. I want to hear that from you. It's probably my favorite Canadian city. So, and I've said that before.
Right after Winnipeg.
Winnipeg's unbelievable. Our summers are really, really, really awesome, but Ottawa's got so much culture and it's so beautiful and it's bilingual. And évidemment, we are both bilingual. So for us, it's neat, but tell us how cool Ottawa is.
Oh, you know what? Ottawa is cool. And I'm like so many Ottawans. I'm a transplant from somewhere else. So I grew up in Montreal, another beautiful city, but Ottawa's fabulous. Everyone should come and see Ottawa. It's just as you say, it's got a wonderful bilingual culture. It's got a beautiful river and a canal system, the World Heritage Site running through the middle of the city. We've got good food and we've got great sights to see, and this conference is going to be really fantastic and very, as you say, Rob, they're always really informative, and you feel very energized after going to these conferences and better instructed, and it's one of my favorite conferences. And so come and see it here in Ottawa.
Come and see in Ottawa. Every year there's parents. If you're a parent and you want to come, we have a little bit of funding for parents to come to that. So maybe reach out to us either through our website, cmvcanada.com. If you're a parent right now, subscribe to our newsletter, subscribe to our YouTube channel, subscribe to our Facebook or like our Facebook and give us a comment. We'd love to hear from you. Ottawa also has got that really neat, it's the capital of Canada. It's our capital. We got Parliament Hill right there, which is a gorgeous, gorgeous area if you're a tourist and you want to check that stuff out. We also have a couple squares that are like markets and have, local pubs and outdoor dining. And it's really, really neat if you're, if you've never been to Canada, my goodness, come to Ottawa in 2021. We'd love to see you there. We are running light on time, so I just want to take one last second to thank you, Marie. And I don't know if you have any other words for our guests or for visitors or for anything about CMV.
Well, I'd like to thank you, Rob. I'd like to thank CMV Canada for everything that it does. I think you guys are incredible, and it's a privilege to be associated with you and to be able to be part of the team, because the work you guys are doing is really amazing. And I feel like you, Rob, that we are going to eventually beat this thing too, and one step at a time, and each tool in its place, and we're going to build on all of this success.
100% we are going to eradicate CMV, Marie. It's going to happen. I've been saying it my whole life since I found out about CMV, I guess 12 years now, and it's going to happen. So come to Ottawa 2021, subscribe to our page, subscribe to our newsletter, check out the website. Thanks again for tuning in. 2 weeks from now, today, noon Eastern, we have, I believe it's Isabelle Boucarin, if I'm not mistaken, in 2 weeks. We also have some really good presenters coming from the US in the following weeks. Some really, really good data, some of the research they'll be presenting. We're building momentum towards Ottawa 2021, and we want to see you there. Join us every second Wednesday for presentations, top experts, 2 weeks from today, noon Eastern, 11 Central. Thanks so much, Marie. You have a great day. Go enjoy the sun in Ottawa.
Okay, thanks.